What's up guys, welcome to Blake's Garage. Today I have the 2018 BMW M4, looking amazing over here, and I have a track day coming up next Monday, so that's actually going to be Memorial Day weekend. It's the first track day, second track day of the year? First track day of the year? I kind of forget. I think it's the second track day of the year. First one after all this pandemic situation. But I know a lot of us have been getting our cars dialed, ready for the track season, and waiting for those tracks to open up. And this is one of those things that's kind of like, it's a must if you're going fast. If you're going slow, you don't need to worry about this because you're not even wearing out your tires. But if you're doing like you're supposed to do and driving the hell out of your car, you need these. So what do I have? All the way from Sweden right here, I have the new Milway Motorsports street version. They actually have two versions of these. Camber plates. Dudes, look at these bad boys right here. They are beautiful. These are the street version. They actually have a spherical type race version as well. These are capable of adding up to negative 3.5 degrees of camber in the front of your car for your M4. Now this is a huge deal because when you're on track, the stock suspension setup basically only gives you about negative 1.2 degrees of negative camber in the front of the car. Now when you start pushing it and you have stickier tires, or even just on stock tires, you start rolling over that sidewall quite a bit when you're really pushing the tires to the limit. When you add camber plates, that's going to actually kind of camber in the wheel. So pretend I'm a wheel looking up and down. If this is the outside of the car, right, and here's the car in the middle, negative camber is going to be tilted like this, and positive camber is going to be tilted outwards like this. Positive camber is like really bad. You don't want that. Negative camber is what you want a little bit of when you're street driving, and then when you're track driving, you want, you know, anywhere from like 2.8 to about 3.5 degrees of negative camber, maybe even 4 depending on like what type of tires you're running. But yeah, these are gonna help you get there. So this will give me adjustment up to negative 3.5. Their race version, you can actually get up to negative 4. So depending on if you're on slicks or something along the lines of that. I am on our 888Rs, which is a 100 treadwear track tire, basically competition tire by Toyo. They're pretty good. I would maybe go with NTO ones next time as well. Some Nittos, those just tend to hold up a little bit more. Let's get these bad boys on. I am super stoked. Oh, new camera too, guys. Let me know what you think of the quality. I'm digging it. I'm back to Canon. If you guys are interested and want to pick up a Panasonic GH5, hit me up on my Instagram at Blake's Garage. I have one for sale. Awesome component about these bad boys is that this right here is polyurethane. You kind of see the white area in there. I know I do. That's going to insulate these for less noise. A lot of the time when you add camber plates to the car, because it's like a spherical ball that they put in there, it can add a bit of like stiffness and rigidity through the wheel, which is something you want on a track car if you're going full out track status. Stick with that. But yeah, I've been rambling quite some time. Okay, let's get these bad boys on the car. Looking super good though. You can see the underneath area right here. Oh yeah, it's beautiful, very beautiful. Depending on what car you're using these on, if you're using it on an M2C competition, if you're using it on an M3 or an M4, they give you different hardware here, which is really nice. So not only am I gonna have some extra hardware from this, you know, I'll be able to pick the right one. So one would be camber plates without a reinforcement plate. Some cars are going to have a reinforcement plate, which is kind of a sandwich plate on top. Some cars may not have a OE, you know, reinforcement plate, like I was saying. Kind of want to give you guys an idea of how my tires look and why I need camber plates on the car. I have 2 track days on these tires, and if you notice here, usually you'll see a triangle along the side of the sidewall there. I don't have it. If you don't have it, you burned it off. You definitely need camber plates. Also, you can see I have quite a bit of cupping on the outside of my tires here because it was just like really working the outside bits of the tires. Just, you know, just not having enough negative camber in the car. It's also going to help out with turn-in on the vehicle. And yeah, it's going to keep the contact patch doing what it needs to do. So like I said, I'm running 275 Wheels in the front are an 18 by 10, and then in the rear of the car, I'm running a 18 by 11. These are the Apex EC7s, and this is a 305 35R18, which are absolutely spanked, as they should be if you're driving your car. I have a brand new set for the track day. I got to get those mounted up. Some of the tools you're going to need are right here. You don't necessarily need these, but these are going to speed up the process. 1/2-inch electric impact. I got these 2 ratchets right here. These are my electric ratchets, my go-tos. Absolutely love these. A good torque wrench. Got this nice Mac torque wrench right here with torque angle. You shouldn't need the torque angle, but you'll get away with, you know, something. Not 100% sure if this is a 18 on the car or not, but you need one of these. This tool really helps with you getting the strut nut off properly. You can do it improperly, and you can also possibly in the process mess up your dynamic ride control, you know, your mag ride, if you don't do it correctly. This, which I'm probably not going to use in this video because I'm going to show you guys a shortcut way, but this is a strut spreader, spanner spreader. What that does is it goes in the backside of the knuckle, and it opens it up to where you can sleeve and kind of pull out the full strut. But we're going to do this with it in the car. I can't remember if you need e-torques. If you do, I'll show you those. Couple jack stands, 1 jack for sure to get the car off the ground, and then a secondary jack, and we're going to use that because I'm not going to use any sort of spring compressor. I'm actually going to use this to remove the old spring. Now, another good idea is toe plates. If you do plan on aligning the car yourself or trying to get it dialed, having toe plates is a great thing. I'm going to get a measurement on the car first so I can figure out what my toe is set to. That way, you know, after the fact, I can get it going good. Chances are this could kind of toe out a little bit. Once I put the camber in, it may change the toe settings. Now, if you guys have never seen how you measure for toe, these are toe plates right here. Basically, what you do is you put a toe plate on each side of the tire, strap it down to the outside of the tire or wheel area. Then you take 2 identical tape measures, identical, keyword, you put them in the notch on each side so you have the same situation going on both sides. You know, make sure they are just as deep. Once you have that, you read the tape measurement. Both wheels are pointing exactly straight. If you had a bit of toe in, don't mind the dirty backyard shoes. Toe in is like this, right? 0 toe would be straight, and toe out is like this, just as a quick demonstration, all right? For a toe in measurement, you would basically have a smaller number on the front tape measure and a larger number on the rear. For toe out, you would have a smaller number on the rear tape measure and a larger number on the front tape measure. So I hope that's just a quick explanation. Most people are going to take their car to an alignment shop, which I would recommend, but if you have this setup or want to try it yourself, you can get it dialed. Anyways, let's get on to actually putting the camber plates on the car. Pardon the dust, guys, pardon the dust. Here's the front of the car. This is the left. So you're gonna notice on the camber plate itself, it either says right or left. The left-hand side of the car is the driver's side of the car in the United States. Up here, we have our strut bar. We're gonna have to, I'm pretty sure we're gonna have to remove the carbon fiber front strut brace. We gotta remove these plastics. Also, this rubber piece right here will actually expose some of the things. So you can just kind of pull this off. These you'll get with a flathead screwdriver. These tabs look just like this, right? This little middle piece is what moves. That's what you're gonna pull out. I think you have like 2 or 3 of those around this engine bay area. If the middle of the piece comes out, that's fine. You can put it back in. Just, you know, try not to lose it because it will go somewhere and you won't be able to find it. I removed one from right here, here, and here. This little piece went there. Now we can kind of pull this up. Now in this area you kind of see like the strut tower. Oh, and then I wasn't sure on my car if I had the reinforcement plate or not, but yes I do. You see this little black piece right here? This is gonna let you know if you have the reinforcement plate or not. If you have it, you got the reinforcement plate. If you don't have the reinforcement plate. So with that, there's 2 types of hardware for the camber plates, and this one is the without, so I'm actually going to swap that. So one huge thing about when you're installing this hardware, when it comes through the little helicoil spots right here, you know, where the threading goes through, you don't want to see any protrusion down below. If you do have protrusion, chances are you installed the camber plate hardware that was for one without the or that was for with the reinforcement plate, and you don't have the reinforcement plate. So, you know, just make sure to read. It's a good thing to do most of the time. Once we kind of get past this, we'll notice this plastic piece over here. You'll also notice the red little flap right here. What does that mean? That is the battery. This is hot. You take a screwdriver and arc it out. You can make some sparks. You can blow some stuff up. Be very careful of that. Be very mindful. Now, this stuff up here, I just do this by hand, counterclockwise. It only turns 90 degrees, okay guys? If you're turning it more, you're gonna strip it out. So do not do that. Now, also take note of the weather seal here. See this stripping? See how it's over the top? When you put this back onto the car, it needs to be over the top. You don't want it down below. If it's down below, you know, you're gonna run into issues. You can get water in your spark plug holes, all sorts of stuff like that down the line from something very basic that you just really didn't think about because you overlooked it. So I'm gonna do the same exact thing on the other side real quick, and then we'll pop back over here. All right, so that is now completely off. We've kind of exposed the strut brace here. We could take this little plastic piece kind of out. Again, you know, check your orientation of what you got going on there. But you're gonna notice some E-type sockets up here at the top, and you're gonna also notice this little cover. I'll show you a little bit closer on that other side, but this just basically pops off, right? And then right here, this whole little piece will come out of the strut assembly. That's your electronic damper controller, your EDC. This plastic piece right here is just a seal to keep the top of your strut nice and clean. And you're gonna notice this little plastic connector right here. Give it a squeeze on the side, kind of wiggle it back and forth, but be gentle. And it should pull right out, okay? See that right there? Kind of looks like that. You know, not that big of a deal to get out of there, but if you break it and you cost yourself a lot of money. So be very careful with that. You can also disconnect it right here as well. But as you can see, we're gonna be messing with the top of the strut, so might as well just leave it connected. These are probably the only specialty tools you're gonna need, and realistically, they're not that specialty. I mean, if you've ever done this stuff before, but if you haven't, you're gonna need to pick them up. If you have a BMW, grab some E-type sockets. You can get away with 12-point sockets. Don't do it. Just don't do it. You're gonna strip stuff out. They're made like this for a reason, as you can see right here. See the style? It's like a star. Basically, it's the opposite of a Torx, right? A Torx usually is this way, right? Out, male. This is a female, so think of it inside out. External Torx. This is what you want to use. You like I said, you don't want to use something else. You could strip it out. Head bolts, things like that on BMWs. Get yourself a full kit. I'll put links to these down below in the description. But this is what I want you guys to see too. See that? This is an 18mm socket like I was mentioning before, but it's cut out in the side. Now, why is it like that? There is a reason for that. This is cheap. I have no idea. There's not even like a brand. This is one of those garbage ones, but it has this little 10mm swivel end on it. Works absolutely perfect for this this setup. I'm just able to put it in there, and it gives me more swing, more rotation on this. So this is a little bit sketchy here when you do this. So you're gonna want to make sure you don't basically scrape your paint. That's the only thing. So just give it a good whack. Okay, so when I'm spinning this, you'll notice, all right, so now it's loose, right? So I can just pull this up. I can rotate this a little bit. I want to keep the actual wrench in the same exact direction. I don't really want it to rotate from when I kind of start it, right? So I'll put it all the way over here. I'll rotate, keeping that wrench there until I'm good, right? That means when I'm doing that the shaft is not moving at all. It's not spinning whatsoever. And like I said, I don't want that shaft to spin down there. Now, when you're doing this, make sure that the car is on the ground when I'm doing this, okay? Because the suspension is still under compression, right? So we don't have a spring compressor on the car. So if your wheel was like in the air, okay? If it's in the air and your tire's not on, this is dangerous. If you have a jack under your knuckle, compressing everything and pushing up on it with the force, it's gonna be fine. Because basically what we're gonna do is once we jack the car up, this whole strut assembly is gonna boop, fall out very slowly with, you know, hydraulic jack, just like using a spring compressor. I tried doing a spring compressor in there once when I did my lowering springs. Nah, it was absolute, like, there wasn't really a way to do it. This is the way you want to do it. This is how every shop's gonna do it. You know, someone may quote you a little bit differently. This is how they're gonna end up doing it, and they may say, "Oh, it takes forever." Really, not that hard to do this. So just kind of keep that in mind. Now, once we get it to a certain point, if we look at it and we don't see the shaft spinning, we're good to go, right? So that looks absolutely great. You could see also another hard thing. This is a 12 point. You know, this is a 12 point socket. So get the correct socket for the job. This is cheap. It's like 15 bucks. It's whatever. If you pay someone to do this, you're gonna be spending a lot of money. So, you know, the tools, less than $40. You know what they say about having tools? It's great to have tools because then you have them. I don't know who said that. I just made that one up. So again, be very careful of this, right? I'm probably gonna tape that up or something. The camber plate is gonna go on like this. The engine over here, right? This is a camber plate. You'll notice the adjustability going inward. That is kicking the strut assembly from like this to boop in more, adding more camber outside, okay? So just kind of keep that in mind. That's the way it's gonna go. No way you're gonna be staring at, right? You're gonna stare at the logo. Also, you got the degree settings, right? Starting at 0 is gonna be the most outer spot of the car, the most outer destination, and then going in, you're gonna be adding more camber, right? If you don't know how these work, chances are you don't need them. So yeah, looking at the design here and looking at the sandwich plate, we could see there's multiple bolts on the outside, right? Those are all these. Boom, 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 boom. There's 5 of them. Unfortunately, I can only access, just with taking this off, 1, 2, 3. The 4th and the 5th are gonna be like hidden right underneath the aluminum strut brace. So we're gonna take that off. So I gotta remove carbon. We gotta remove this aluminum piece. It's a little bit sketchy. You're gonna need more e-torques. So like I said, I'm gonna put links in the description down below to where you can pick up all the tools to do this, because it's honestly not hard. It's not hard to do. Everyone looks at this and goes, "Oh my God, that's so many steps." I could probably do this in about 2 hours, all right? And honestly, like, think about it this way, guys. So if you have to drive to a shop to get this done, or drive to the dealership, which I highly recommend, never go to the dealership. The dealership is garbage, probably the worst place to do any of your work. But go to a European automotive place. You're gonna be waiting around. You're gonna wait 2, 3, 4 hours. Or you're gonna drop the car off. It's gonna take an hour, you're gonna wait around, it's gonna take another hour. There's your 2 hours right there. So all that time that you thought you're saving, you're not saving it. So that's why my motto on this channel is wrench on. If it's like way out of your realm, I understand, but it's a few bolts. It's like 7 bolts, taking stuff off. Let's get it done. Alrighty guys, carbon fiber strut brace is coming off. It is 6, 7, 8, 9 bolts in total. Easy to do. 13 millimeter. I think there's 110. If I remember correctly, all the bolts are the same size. Again, up here, only thing you got to look out for is that positive terminal. It's also an absolutely amazing time, believe it or not, to do your spark plugs. If you haven't done your spark plugs on your car, I know most people do them at the dealership, but if you take all this stuff off, you're like 85% of the way there. By the way, guys, all those bolts back there are the same size. Front ones are the short ones, okay? Now, the one you always forget about, the expansion tank right here, 10 millimeter. When tightening this back up, do not, I repeat, do not use any sort of impact driver on this guy. The other bolts can handle it. This one, it'll shear off. Either that or like there's a brass piece and you'll break your expansion tank. Don't do it, but busting it loose is fine. Being careful of the red positive part. We're picking up that carbon fiber strut brace and we'll throw it somewhere safe where it's not going to get scratched. So now we got to get back to those E sockets. So we got the E12, the external Torx number 12. This strut bar up here, it's pretty cool. You know, everybody thinks like, I enjoy taking this apart because it like shows all these amazing M parts. But taking this off right here just like really exposes this extra structural bracing here. It's pretty awesome. So the E12, take these off. Again, on the passenger side, be very careful of this. This is the most important thing to be aware of. That's why I keep on saying it. I don't want you to burn your car to the ground. This is fused and everything, but not a good idea. Guess I'll go to this one. It's a little quicker. Impact drivers are definitely quicker. So another 6 over here. And there's also 2 in the middle that we'll have to get to in a sec. Up, and then there's one more little 10 mil over here. You see this area up here? Be careful of your pockets. If you have any knife in your pocket or anything when you lean over the car, not good. We're gonna tear stuff up. So these little rubber areas right here, if you have a very small screwdriver or a pick, it's ideal for this. And pop these out, all right? See that? They're just little covers. Pretty sure this is 17 mil. Yep, 17 millimeter. Oh, we got the 2 on the outside here, right? We got 2 more E14s right here. This little deep area, this little circular on both sides. That's gonna be our last one that we need. All right, so we will hit those on both sides. It's a different length as well, so there's only one. All the other E bolts were all the same size. Okay, can't remember if I have to take this plastic off. I think I gotta take this little, yeah, I'll just take the little seal off a little bit. So this rubber little seal just kind of pulls off. And we can just kind of put that up front. For the expansion tank bracket again, it's the one side that kind of throws you for a loop a little bit. Just take that off, put it out of the way. You know, if you want to, if your battery's live, like mine's live, control this area right here, okay? You want to pick it up, keep your eye on the prize, and don't screw this up. Okay. Right there. I'm up and out of the way. Look at this guy. How cool is that? Like, if you didn't do this yourself, you'd never even know this was on the car. Super lightweight, aluminum, one piece. Looks like it's water jetted, maybe with CNC, you know. I do see some mill marks, but dude, super, super cool. I'd say this weighs like 5 or 6 pounds, nothing. All right, so now we have this whole exposed area. This is where I was mentioning, guys, if you needed to do your spark plugs, the one and only hard spark plug to get to, and it's only hard because you gotta get this far, is number 6, cylinder number 6 back here in the back. Take off a couple more pieces of plastic right around this area right here. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4. There's like 6 more bolts, and you can expose that whole area. Boom, pop this off. Boom, pop off charge pipes. Pop this out. Pop the little top cover off. Good to go. You can get to those coil packs. Bam, 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 bam. It's just like one freaking bolt each. Pop those out. 17 millimeter spark plug wrench. Bam, hit your spark plugs. Sick. Whatever. Pretty easy. It's just like everything's super well engineered. It just takes a minute to get there, you know. All right, guys. So I'm down here now, and you know, maybe I should have done this before. I'm gonna go ahead and tape this up with some electrical tape, just real quick, because if I take this plate off and it, I don't know, it deflects or something along those lines, like not super awesome, you know. This little top piece here, this is actually gonna go bye-bye. You see this little metal, or I should say aluminum inserted piece right here? That is going to be replaced by the camber plate. All right, that's going to actually boop protrude up right here. See this piece? See this little raised area? That's going to be right here. All right, so pretty cool design here. And then we're going to undo all these bolts here and just boop bolt it right in. Let's keep that in mind. I'm just going to wrap this whole thing up. Some electrical tape. Now, if you nicked into this, yeah, you could still spark something, but I mean, this is all painted as well, so you know, we're decently insulated. But if it's like straight screw, you know, screw or this metal piece or something, we're looking at arcs and we're looking at sparks, and we don't want to do that on a new car. If you're worried, just take the battery off. I'm just like, honestly, you guys can say I'm being lazy, but I want to bet most people don't take it off. I know most people just say, oh, I'm going to take it off. Whatever. Okay, so I'm going to remove these bolts here. They look to be like, did we call it? Oh, I was going to say 16. I was honestly going to say 16. 16 millimeters. Now, I recommend to only work on this stuff on one side at a time, all right? So like take all the strut brace stuff off and all that, but the actual like camber plate side and removing the top nut here to the top hat, only do that on one side, because when we lift the car up, we don't want the strut to fall out. That's, you know, you may want 2 people for this. You can do it with 1, but I know a lot of people are like, I could never do this, but it's easy, dudes. Maybe leave 1 bolt a little bit in there. Honestly, another good idea is to take that top hat nut and just thread it on just a tad when we lift up the car, just so it doesn't like fall out like crazy. So now we are on to the process of jacking up the car. If you do not know how to jack up your vehicle, I guess you shouldn't do this. So let's get my jack under there and it'll be good. One thing that's really cool, I have a buddy that sells these. I'll put a link down below to them. This little insert actually goes into your lifting point in your car. So, you know, when you usually put your jack under there, it's just on this little plastic piece, which are removable from BMW, but they get jacked up over time. This actually slots right in, makes a nice plate area to give you a good distribution of your load, and then you can jack up the car very simply and very easily. So if you guys don't have these, definitely a trick little item to grab. Alright, so you can actually like go underneath here and just kind of pop it in. Now if your car is lowered like mine, you may need to put your car on a block. I just have Swiss lowering springs. Sometimes it works depending on how my driveway angle is and where the car is sitting. It's not gonna work right now. So anyways, I'm just gonna do it the regular way. But take my word for it, those things are pretty cool. I like them. Alright, gonna jack this up. So we're gonna keep an eye on the strut up here, because you may notice this nut lower, right? Because the strut could actually fall kind of out of the car if you didn't have the nut on the top, because we are taking the compression off of the spring. So this is negating the use of a spring compressor. Basically, we don't need a spring compressor because we're doing it like this. We want to get some sort of block underneath the car after we get it jacked up a little bit, but you know, this is pretty much it. When you kind of bang on it a little, you hear that? I think you guys heard that. We can see movement in this now, right? See the movement, see the play? Totally cool. You know, it's basically off, but we still got those threads on. I'm gonna take the wheel off because the wheel is obviously heavy. 17 millimeter on the wheel. I got my fancy impact driver, but whatever. If you guys are wondering, I've done a stud conversion on the car. So, how's the tire look? Getting dang close. We do have quite a bit of camber wear on the thing, but these will be cooked after this track day. It's actually right to the it's right to the dot on the inside here, so that's good. It's gonna change like the angle where this is riding, but still look to be all right. We're not completely into the secondary rubber yet, so we're one track day away from a new set of tires. Kind of one of the bummer things about having a staggered setup. Oh, wanna know a secret? If you know you're driving fast or putting a lot of heat into the brakes, if your calipers are now this color, you're probably going pretty quick on track. If they haven't changed colors yet, you can probably brake deeper. Stock color looks like kind of that blue. My backs are actually quite a bit darker now as well, but yeah, if you see an M4, M3, really any car with some bigger brakes, and you notice that the paint is a different color on the calipers, that's because they track the car. So I actually have brand new calipers too. Those are going on. I'll be doing a video on that soon. But yeah, what we have now is we got all this stuff up here. So a lot of time what we actually want to do is like disconnect the EDC stuff right here. Just pull out the rubber connector, and we want to pull off this little connection piece. Now this is just so we don't screw anything up. We don't want to break anything when we pop it out. So I got Swift lowering springs on the car. You can see this little orientation piece here. This little rubber, right? The rubber piece matters. It matters where it goes. It matters where the spring is locked into that rubber isolation piece. Also, we're gonna notice up here there is a bearing, right? There's a what they call a strut bearing at the top that helps quiet down your springs or your struts. Or if you step on the whole assembly, you'll notice kind of goes down, right? Oh, I might have to jack up the car. I think the sway bar interferes with this a little bit, because when you have that side of the car loaded up, it's like pushing up with the sway bar on this side because it's compressing down. Or maybe it's actually, I think it's the opposite way. It's actually pressing this wheel down, but that might be kind of why we're limited as far as suspension travel here to pop this out. I did get a bit of pressure off there. I'm gonna go ahead and dial these to I'm gonna start out with -2 on these and see what it looks like. Put a 5 mil in here and you just kind of undo it. When we undo the 3, we can change the camber, right? So we actually, I think we're gonna be able to change this from the top as well. But right now, I'm starting at 0, so I know I want at least 1. 2.5 is the max, so they say 3.5 is the max, so I'm gonna go to 2. I think will dial me at about 3 degrees negative camber. That's my hopes and my thoughts. And I mean, we can go from there, right? Easy as that. That's why we are installing these, to get stuff dialed. See this? Whole thing's coming out. Now we want to keep hold of this whole assembly. Give it a check. Make sure you're not stretching out any stuff, right? So we have an ABS line thingy here. We want to yank that out and away. That way we're not stretching anything out too far and we're not going to break anything. Okay, we're just going to pull down a little bit. Alrighty. Now this sketchy point, right here. Sketchy is part of the whole deal. Just make sure you kind of caster this thing back, and you're kind of good to go. Now don't let it hang, right? We don't want to do anything bad here, but yeah, this is where the second person, I guess, is going to come into play pretty well. So now we're looking at the top of the strut. This is where they say you can pull it out of the strut assembly down here, and you can yank this whole piece out. It's unnecessary in my opinion, right? We have a bump stop in here, right? Bump stop's gonna stay, but I just kind of wanted to show it to you. The bump stop is in there, right? Now we'll notice the little rubber piece here. The little rubber piece has a little stop here at the end, right there. Okay, right there. That's supposed to line up with the spring. All right, that's gonna reduce any sort of noise that we have or anything like that. All right. So this looks to all be very good. Now what's up here in the top, up underneath here, is that whole piece. Again, be very careful of this so it doesn't whack the side of your car. It's probably the scariest part going on here. Okay, top here, right? We see all this up here. This is that plate. This is the old plate. This is where the new camber plate's gonna go, right? I don't know why BMW didn't add any sort of camber adjustment from the factory. Kind of weird to me, but hey, is what it is. So again, we have this sandwich plate right up here. This is the black piece, right? If you don't have the black piece, you don't have the chassis reinforcement piece right there. Not a big deal, but install it to how you need to install it. Okay, so here's this piece right here, right? OE, aftermarket. Look at that. So much more pretty. So much more prettier. So if you notice here, nub, right side of the car, right? So these are different. But we also have this little plastic piece right here. Now check this out. See how this rolls? There's actually bearings in here. If you have access, a ton of noise and you're making weird noises, you may want to replace this. These can go bad. Mine has a little bit of play in it. I don't know. I haven't noticed any excessive noise on my car, so I'm just going to leave it. But we are going to transfer that over to this piece right here. So this little cup is this little cup on the new camber plate. I just pried this off evenly on each side, stuck a screwdriver in, pull right, pry, till it pops off, right? Once you do that, you put it right back on here, right? Press down, we're good to go. And guess what? Just like that, we're literally gonna bolt this bad boy in here. So it's gonna go like this, right? The inside of the car, okay? We're gonna bolt this in first with the new hardware. Again, I'm just keeping on repeating this in case you guys skip. 2 sets of hardware, right? We got the strut brace. These are the screws for it. These ones here. Then you have the sandwich plate area. Pick the appropriate hardware. Mine is for camber plate with OE reinforcement plate. Again, that's that black plate. You don't have the black piece, use it without OE reinforcement plate. Okay, I think I've said that enough times, but hey, you never know. Just when you guys thought like, man, this guy keeps pulling out all these nice tools. Well, I agree with you. I do. And this is one of the ones I absolutely love. Milwaukee underhood light. Right, when it starts getting a little darker out, this thing works amazingly. It is super cool. Yes, other brands make these. Yes, they're more expensive. No, I don't think you should buy them. This does just fine. So we're gonna take the strut hardware out. I got these old ones. These are basically going bye-bye, right? So I'll keep these somewhere. I'll probably tape them to the old piece. I like to do that. You know, if we ever part out the car, you keep the hardware, you just tape it on here with masking tape or something, and then you know what goes to what, and then, yeah, you can, you know, reuse your old stuff, right? And we're gonna just set this right up in here. We're gonna find those nub holes, right? So the nub holes, and I'll show you here in a second, only go in one location. You put them in there, it's gonna set you up correctly. We want to keep in mind which ones were for the strut brace, what weren't. See the orientation nubs? Right there and right there. You'll notice those are the ones that are not recessed either. Now, when it dumps the camber in, oh my goodness. That was my little bearing. Don't drop the bearing on the ground. Don't do that. I'm just talking. When you dump it in, you're going to notice instead of it just going boop, inward like this, it also looks like we're getting a bit of caster. Caster is the way the strut is in the car. So like if it's straight up and down, that's less caster. If we're farther back, that's more caster. That's gonna get you like better like self-steer and stuff like that. It's better in high speed cornering and stuff like that. More caster is, so that's really cool. Because I know a lot of people are gonna say, oh well, these don't look like they adjust caster. I think they actually do, but it's just not adjustable, right? You get what you get. Put the strut back into the car. Now this is where you might want a second person. Don't necessarily have to have it, but it might come in handy. Take a peek at how your spring is going up in here. Okay, just pull up on the strut assembly and get your nut on there. All right, just like this, right? It's not tight, not tight, not tight, not tight, not tight. So what I'm gonna do now is go ahead and tighten these up and torque them down, and we're looking pretty dang good. And then we'll do the other side, basically identical thing, put it all back together. I don't know if I'm gonna show you guys putting it all back together, just because if you've gotten this far, you know how to put it back. It's a lot of extra editing and stuff like that. I think you'd rather see a review of basically how much more camber the car received when doing this, and then also like a driving review, right? That's what we really want to know. How's the car feel? One thing you're gonna notice too is only one of those bags has the washers in it, right? So make sure to put the washers in. I started to put mine on and I'm like, wait a minute. It says install the supplied washers, but I was like, well, they're not in the bag. They're in the other bag. If you don't have them on the hardware you're supposed to use, probably in the other bag. Again, guys, this is where that tape's gonna come in handy. This is probably the sketchiest part right here with that battery attached. FYI. Make sure when you're torquing these down, the little nubs go into their spot. That's how my camber plates look right now, so you guys can get an idea. Looks pretty dang nice. Now I'm just going to go ahead and torque down this top nut here with the same tool, right? So we want to tighten this down, and then we want to get our torque value with that tool. You cannot get an appropriate torque value without that tool. And don't just blast this on here. That's not a good idea. Okay, so you can tighten this up a little bit. Just keep an eye to making sure it's not spinning, right? As soon as it starts to spin, even in the slightest, you need to go ahead and put the tool on there to keep it in place. But you should be able to at least get it snug, a little snug without it moving around. So also keep in mind that you do not want to lube this area up here because of the material that it's made out of. It will actually ruin the polyurethane material that it's resting on. Oh, so right now it's starting to just barely move. Put our wrench on here. There may be a couple times where you feel it like move a little bit, and if you did it without the tool, what you're gonna end up doing is leaving your top nut on your strut loose. You don't want to do that. It's very, very bad, right? Okay, so I just felt that get a lot more solid, right? Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna put that to my torque value. All right. You kind of notice where the bolts protrude through right there. You want to make sure they're flush, right? So nothing hanging down. If they're hanging down, use the wrong hardware. You weren't paying attention. You didn't listen to me. So rewatch the video. So this is pretty much set up. I'm gonna do the identical thing on the other side over there. I'm not gonna film it because, like I said, it's the same thing. It's redundant. Then I'm gonna start putting this stuff all back together. I'll probably, like, I don't know, time lapse putting it back together or kind of speed that footage up, and yeah, we'll be good to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and adjust the camber just like the other ones in the same position. You know, after if you take it to an alignment shop, you can really dial all this stuff in, but I'm just gonna get a rough alignment of what I need, what I think I need, and yeah, we'll kind of go from there. Got that camber plate in, We're gonna go ahead and bolt this all back up. So I kind of figured I'd start kind of my time lapse here. Go ahead and put this stuff back on, you're going to notice this little piece, right? If you have the electronic damper controls, right? If you have the mag ride suspension on your car, what this does is it plugs right into the strut. Now it has this plastic piece, so what we got to do, because now it's like kind of off center, right? Because it was in the middle and now it's dumped in, because that's what we're doing. We're adding negative camber to the car. We just have to take the little plastic piece off. So you can just kind of remove the rubber from this little plastic piece right here. Pull that out, put that with your old little top hat situation. Now we can plug back in the connector. Now it only goes in one way, so you may have to spin it a little bit until you find the orientation of that. There it is. So it does spin when it's on there, just so you guys know, but you know, it only kind of goes on one way. So now just kind of rests on there. Cool. And then we can put the rubber piece back over. Like, honestly, is it cooler without the rubber piece? I mean, like, kind of is, but the problem is all this sealant and weather stripping, it does kind of matter. So I would recommend to just put it back. Even though I get it, you're like hiding your brand new cool looking camber plates, but not really something you have to show off. I mean, you can kind of show it off by how much negative camber you have in the car, right? Like I was saying, when you take these off, you want to make sure the seal gets put right back over the top. That way we don't get any water intrusion. Like, this took forever, but I literally didn't start until like 7 o'clock at night. It's like 9 or something. It's not too awful late. But I don't know. It's a little bit hot out today, so I went over somewhere. So I undid a couple wires, and then my sway bars. I disconnected the sways to pull the strut out. So once I get that all back in place, we'll be all buttoned up. So as you guys can see here, the car looks absolutely amazing. The camber dumped into about -3 degrees in the front, maybe about -3.2. I've actually yet to get an official alignment. Just kind of did my iPhone and toe plate alignment on the car, but it definitely has quite a bit more. Put 15mm spacers on the front to kind of kick out the wheel back out kind of closer to the fender here. Actually ended up putting on different tires. The R888Rs were completely turfed. I did buy new 305 rears, but you guys will see in an upcoming video. Those were good, but my 275 up front had too much camber wear. I wasn't going to be able to get a full track day out of those, so I had to swap them out, unfortunately. So a couple things have changed on the car. It's been about 2 weeks since that track day, but the car feels absolutely amazing with the camber plates. Highly recommend them. They do not make any excessive noise that I've heard, any, you know, excess noise from driving around or anything like that. The responsiveness of the turn-in feels absolutely amazing. It's really nice. You're going to be able to dial in your alignment. And yeah, on a nice cool track day, I didn't get to fully experience the benefits of this because on track it was a very hot day, and you guys will see that video. But yeah, the car just feels so much better. So anyways, thanks for watching the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. We will talk to you soon. Later, and wrench on.